of one and the other. It doesn't make sense to me, and it seems that you are sort of trying to make a split between the co-op owners and the condo owners. That was my issue.
Okay. Answers will be given later.
I beg pardon?
Answers will be given later.
Pamela Grunke, 2214B. I have a question of this board, and I would appreciate an answer. It seems that you have a budget for legal advice, and that budget has been overspent by between $16,000 and $20,000. My question to you is, how are you going to pay for it? Where are you going to get the money? My second part of this question is, why does this board deem it necessary to have legal counsel at every meeting? And what is the cost to the residents in our budget, United budget, of this expenditure? I believe that you have a duty to the residents. You volunteered for this job, and if you can't run a meeting with proper decorum and with enough information, then you don't need to be on the board. I appreciate the fact that there are some instances when legal counsel is necessary. I do not believe that it's necessary cost-wise to have legal counsel at every meeting. The second thing is, last month, the president gave me a gift before the meeting. And after several phone calls to me and to my husband initiated by the president, giving us various forms of information, I no longer would like to be beholden to this president in any way, shape, or form, so I am returning the gift that you gave me before last month's meeting. I want nothing to do with it. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Eugenia Francis. I'm at 80A Aragon. Like many residents here, I watched the last board meeting, and I was appalled at the president's comments. We have been working on this issue, the Protect Property Values Club, since 2009.
Excuse me a minute, Mr. President, I can't hear you.
We are well versed in the lease restriction and know indeed that we were allowed to lease for 6 months, so it's rather a lease permit than a lease restriction. So I have had any number of exchanges here with the board. We were the ones that finally got the attorney to render a legal opinion stating that there was no impediment to removing the lease restriction. So the president knows that we indeed are well informed, and we've been working diligently on this issue, and under great McNulty, we had so much resident input that we had to have one of our meetings, open meetings, over at Clubhouse 3 because there were over 200 residents in attendance who wanted to speak to this issue. Now, speaking to all of us here, many of you, like myself, were heirs or co-owners. My father bought a manor, a co-op that I now have for my aunt 50 years ago. I've had 2 aunts live here, and a cousin presently lives here. I've been coming down to Leisure World or Laguna Woods since the 70s. My family in aggregate has over a 60-year investment in Laguna Woods. So what I'm trying to say is, let's face facts, in a community whose median age is 77, death of owner may be the most common form of transfer. You need to have, like my aunt had, your children on the title. Now, going into that, condo owners also are the 78 years, or et cetera. So when one of the condo owners dies, their heirs have a choice of what to do with the property. Some will have no money, and the state takes a year to settle. They may paint, carpet, sell, put it on the market, and be a low comp, depreciating property values. We need to give, however, some of them can say, let's lease for a few years till we're old enough to live here. Let's lease a few years until estate settles. Let's have some options. Let's have some peace of mind. I think that all co-op owners should have the same peace of mind enjoyed by condo owners. You want to sell
Mrs.
from the...
Franz,
Yes.
you've had your 3 minutes.
Okay,
Time out.
thank you, and thank you for listening, and together we will prevail. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Pat Gutman, 2218A. I am a co-owner with my mother, and also my husband owns a property with his mother. And so we have both a vested interest. I also am a realtor, so I hope I have some insight into various areas that some of you may not be familiar with. I am for changing not only as a resident, but as a realtor, the rental restriction. Currently, it is a detriment to buyers. I get repeated statements from buyers, co-ops are nice, but rental, I need options. I need options. Something happens to my mother, and it just doesn't happen. Currently, the 6-month rental, the numbers somebody gave before was a minor amount, and it does only average to about 2% on average a year. The other issue is values. There seems to be a question. Realtors set the values. We do not. We use comparables. We look at comparables. We generally use as many sold like properties in last 3 years, anything pending, certainly anything active, and we present that to a potential seller, and these are what's in front of them. And an appraiser uses the same. If you have a loan or you wish to purchase a property and there's an appraiser involved because you have a loan, that appraiser uses guidelines too. He can only use the comps for the last 3 months on sold properties, nothing further back. And anything pending, one active, and he has a strict formula on upgrades, location, and the factors that go with it. And the buyers, when they come to look at property in Laguna Woods, do the same thing. What's the comps? If I like the Granada, what are the comps? What has sold? What's on the market? What's pending? What are the upgrades? So they can compare and estimate their own what's important to them value for the dollar. Recently, or at the last meeting, there was a Granada mentioned last year for $260,000 sold in 2011, which is true. This year, through today, which I looked up, the highest sold was 214. Currently, there is one in escrow for 234. Look highly upgraded.
Okay.
I doubt if it actually sold for 234,
Okay.
but it gives you something to go by from year to year.
Okay, your time is up, and we have just one more person to speak
Okay,
and
I'll
before we
let-
have to go on to the rest of the board.
I appreciate everybody coming, but I also feel that the negativity of meetings resonates to potential buyers extremely. They know right away what's going on in the community between blogs, videos, tapes, etc. And this negativity and detriment just adds to potential buyers not buying here. They don't want what we have anymore. They want something better. So I appreciate your
Okay.
time. Thank you.
Okay.
30 minutes.
Mr. Rosenhaft, you'll be the last speaker today because we've gone beyond the 30 minutes.
Thank you, sir. I want to compliment the board. You guys have done a great job without a whole lot of real support that you do deserve. I want to address 2 issues. My mom won't be too happy. She's a 18-year resident here. She won't be too happy with me disagreeing with the rabbi, but I'm very much in favor of maintaining the 6 months. When I moved here, I knew what I was buying. I had the option to buy a condo or a co-op. My real estate person was very thorough and explained all the options. I bought here. Contrary to what Ms. Cohn said at the beginning, I did rent at one time. I used to live in a condo, a 530-unit condo association that didn't have many restrictions on renters, and that was the bane of the existence of that group. Just one more point, the fact of having your attorney present. You know, I got to admit that when I first saw that, I was a little surprised, but waited to hold judgment. I think having your attorney present is excellent, especially considering...
Mr. Chairman, could you ask the audience to please be
Okay.
respectful to the speaker?
If the audience is not going to be respectful, we will have to clear. Go ahead.
Especially considering the fact that you get such adversarial discussion. Discussion is fine, but yelling and clapping and booing, this is just not the place. We all do live here. I ask you to stay steadfast and retain the 6 months. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. At this time, we will terminate the comments from the membership. I am sorry, we've gone beyond the 30 minutes we allocated. We do have a major amount of work to do today. And we are now on number 7 on the agenda, response from the member comments, response to members' comments from members of the board. Any member of the board like to make a comment? Director Stone.
Yes, I would like to respond to the increase in the lease permit fees. The passage of Resolution 01-1291 increases the cost of obtaining a United Mutual lease permit from $110 to $300.
Point of order.
Yeah, can we?
If me-
Okay. Hold on while people who wish to leave the audience may leave now. We need to keep the noise factor down, please. Okay. Director Stone, would you continue?
Thank you. The permit fee defrays United Mutual's expense to perform the following tasks: calculate the allowable days available to sublet a particular dwelling unit, i.e., no more than 6 months in any 12-month period; collect lease permit documentation from lessors and lessees; verify that the age restriction is satisfied; obtain board approval for the lease permit; update United Mutual's corporate records to reflect the approved lessee's occupants; review select policies and rules with parties to the transaction; and enforce United policies and rules if necessary during the course of the lease period or subsequent to its expiration. United Mutual has increased the lease permit fee so that the burden of the above-mentioned expense is borne in greater proportion by the members who choose to sublet their manor, rather than by the majority of United Mutual members who are the owner occupants and who do not sublet their manors. It is because we do not want the general membership to have to pay for those who think that they need to sublet their units.
Director Gerson?
Yes, I'd like to respond to the resident who commented and gave a long list. Apparently, he's lived here since 2010, and I hope they've been enjoyable years. It's only 2, but, but it'll grow on you. But the list that he gave, I sat here and waited, and not one single activity that he listed that he does not take part in, neither do I. But I pay my assessments every month because this place is my home. And it not only covers all the clubs and all that sort of thing, it covers the landscaping, the maintenance, the construction, the upkeep of this village, which we want it to continue to be. When I came looking, it never occurred to me to rent. I have lived as a renter. I don't like living as a renter. I came home, and after some bad experiences, others have had good. I happen to have some bad ones. But it's nice to live in a community of people who actually live here and enjoy it and want to make this their home until they're carted out. And I'm one of them, all right? And also, thank you to Tony. I know I shouldn't say a name, but thank you, Tony. Yes, water conservation is very important, and thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. And in closing, we do listen. However, it would be nice if the people we listen to also listened.
Okay. Director Dallas,
Yes, a couple of responses one to the gentleman who said he was confused between what a condo and a co-op is. And briefly, in the co-ops, we do pay, and in addition to our regular maintenance, a reserve for replacements. Whereas in the condos, the landlord, the owner, is responsible for everything that's inside that manor. Here in the co-ops, we do have the reserves. And I think that's a very important distinction as to, I think, why some people would like to remove the restriction of 6 months, because if they went to a year-round, what a beautiful paradise for the landlord. He gets the money, and he doesn't have to.
Excuse me,
And he doesn't
it's
have
the
to pay
director's-
for the replacement of the refrigerator or the oven, whether it's taken care of or not. And I think that's important, because we do pay that additional cost to maintain our co-ops. Thank you.
Excuse me, Director Dallas. This is a board meeting, and you are guests here. Your time is during the homeowners forum, and you are allowed to stay here throughout the entire meeting. But it is incredibly disruptive when a board member is speaking while they are conducting business to have your side conversations. You deserve respect when you go up to the podium, and this board deserves respect as well. This meeting needs to continue.
Any more respect that is given to the President of the United States with belief Eli?
Why don't we just clear the room?
Okay.
They can't behave themselves.
Okay. Director Bryant.
I wanted to speak to Mr. Parker and others who talked about, I think that was correct last name. I'm a lousy writer. About the fee for leasing. I think when all of us come into this community, we read our paperwork, and it is a shared cost community. Everything is out and open. You share in the cost of the golf course and the equestrian center and everything. You read the restrictions on the community that you come into, and you abide by them. The second thing is, when all of those are laid open to me as a manor owner, I didn't know I was taking on the shared cost of someone who wanted to lease their manor. That is not made public. That is not on the paperwork I received. And I am now being asked to subsidize someone else leasing their manor. Now, to me, that's a problem. As a manor owner, I accept my full responsibility of why I came to this community and invested my life savings in my retirement. But I didn't take on someone else's responsibilities. So when we were made aware of the cost involved in having these leases and the problems that have ensued from many of them, I personally don't feel that I wish to pay for them. So the amount of money that was put forward by this board for that lease was commensurate with what it was costing this mutual to allow someone else to lease their manor.
Okay. Director Turner.
Well, there have been a couple of responses now. First of all, Director Stone's response was totally clear, totally accurate as to why we made a very modest increase in the cost of leasing. The reality is there are many, many, many expenses that are incurred when there is a request for leasing that the staff has to go through, and all of us pay for that. So it was really simply another effort by this board to be fair to all of the residents in the community, and I would think that there are many listening out there who appreciate the fact that we think of the majority, not just the minority, in these types of efforts. Thank you.
Okay. Director Copley.
I would just like to say that I think because of self-interest this community is losing its way. When this dream of Leisure World was thought about with Mr. Cortese, he studied what people would want. The heart of the dream was for retirees to have attractive housing, to be near people of their own age, to be independent of other people if you wanted to be, and be free of the responsibilities of the grounds and the maintenance and all the things that go with it. There would also be amenities, clubhouses, golf courses, swimming pools, tennis courts, and many other kinds of facilities. All was to provide a great range of things to do to satisfy a wide range of needs and desires. And these would be the essential ingredients to make possible an active retirement at a quality level never before so realized. We are going by the law. We have legal advice constantly. We must obey the law. We have governing documents that we must obey. If you as a group, or anybody as a group, or anyone wants to change this and tear this community apart, you will rend asunder the dream that was Leisure World, now known as Laguna Woods Village, that we all came here and bought a share of stock. We don't own a thing. We have a piece of paper. We were shareholder occupied. There were no leasing requirements or permission to do so until about 10 years after the community started, and then there was a downturn, and Cortese meant some obstacles too, but basically it was to help people. And I can tell you on the Finance Committee, which our treasurer can speak to, we help people who do have problems. They come to us, it's handled by a separate department. We let them forego payments for a period of time. We work with them on paybacks. We do a lot. We have an excessive amount of money outstanding now. And this business of, well, if you're older and you need to go somewhere to get extra care, we work with those people. And yes, prices are down. But I can tell you, so far this year, we've had 210 sales against 140 last year. Yes, you're getting less than you expected. So would I if I wanted to sell. But that's not our fault. It's the country, people. It's all over the world. So if you would just try to realize, come to our meetings and learn something instead of complaining about everything, you might accomplish something.
Okay. Okay. Wait. Director Bassler?
Yeah, I think you all go along with me and this board even, that we're tired of hearing about this this issue, and it's too bad that we're arguing about it because there's so many other things we should be doing. But it's such a major issue. I wonder why it was decided before I was on the board that we would not put this out for a vote by the membership. There must be a reason, you know, and maybe you could explain, somebody could explain why it was not put out for a vote by the members.
Okay. Okay. Director Turner?
I just would like to make very brief comment about our legal counsel. Some of you have indicated you don't understand why it is necessary, why that we are bearing this expense. I can just tell you that while we would all love to have a cleaner, non-legal type of operation here, the reality is not there. Virtually everything we get involved in has a legal aspect to it, and I think that those of you that pay attention and appreciate what is going on with this board and with this community would appreciate the fact that we have retained legal counsel to help us and guide us in doing the right things for this community. Thank you.
Are there any more comments? Director Vogel.
It's interesting on the, I think I'm probably jumping on the treasurer's report, but this seems to be an appropriate time to mention it. For the first 5 months of the year, the total sales this year were 358.59. The average monthly sales were 71. Last year, the average monthly, this is for everybody, average monthly sales were 61. So there are 10 units average for the first 10 more units this year than last year on the average for the first 5 months. Now, this year, the first 5 months, they were the 210 units sold, and the change year to date for all units, or I'm sorry, for United, was plus 76.7%. The change for third was minus 4%. It seems to me it's difficult to prove that the sales of United are badly hindered by the 6-month rental agreement. Prices I can go into too. You're a little better off on price, and that's quite normal. If you look at just take the globe and count up the sales of units over $270,000 in the last one. The highest sale in United was $270,000. There were at least a dozen because the properties are bigger and newer in third.
Okay.
Agree. I can go into prices, but it's available to all of you. It's called the monthly resale report. Incidentally, for the year, we have sold $57 million, all unit, the whole complex, $57 million. And the monthly average is $11 million. That is up $2 million roughly, a little more. It's all here, friends. It can't justify changing anything.
Okay. Okay. Any other member wish to counsel? Okay. Would our corporate attorney wish to make a comment at this time?
The decision of the Board of Directors by a majority vote is a decision of all of the board members. You each are entitled to your individual perspective and vote, but when the board makes its decision on any particular item or subject matter, that then becomes the vote of the Board of Directors. So in response to Mr. Bassler's inquiry, the Board of Directors prior to this board didn't invent this 6-month lease approval or restriction process, whichever way you want to call it, but rather continued with a policy and procedure that had been in place for almost the entire history of this community. Because the Board of Directors made the decision that it was not going to change the 6-month leasing policy, there was no reason for the matter to go out to a vote. If a board wanted to change the leasing policy,